Hi, I'm Michael Dean, and I'm going to do episode 11 here. Um, this one is really to say, hey, what did that big, beautiful bill that our Congress just passed on July 4th do for seniors 65 plus? So I'm asking ChatGPT to analyze it for us, so I'm not having to go find somebody to interpret it for me and seeing if they'll look at it, then calculate it, and show me what the impact of that is in that. And so I hope you enjoy this episode, and let's go watch this video. Okay, I put all this in before I got on here on ChatGPT, but I'm asking ChatGPT what's the impact of the senior 65 plus changes to the tax bill that just went forward July 3rd, both for both individuals and for married couples. I put in some numbers here too because there is a phase out both in the individual and married couple, and so I put in some theoreticals anyway. So I'm going back and asking it to kind of come back and tell us what those senior deductions are. And so for an individual age 65 plus, you know they increase the standard deduction up to on the single level to 15,750, married to 31,500. A whole bunch of stuff about phasing it out between 75 and 175 on the individual side, and anything over 150 up to 250 on the marginal side. So anyway, they come back and basically I'm asking ChatGPT, hey, calculate all this stuff and see what it comes up with, and how accurate it is. And here it is. I'm kind of showing you the table. It's summarized, and kind of what the impact is for both individuals and single under the. I basically came up with six different scenarios: single and married. Because in one case on the married side, if you're not 65, it has a different impact than if there's just one person over 65. So anyway, put all that stuff in, comes back, gives us, what all the tax rates are and all that, and then ask me, can it generate an Excel file? So without getting into too much detail on what it just showed you there, I did download all that. You can print all that off. Here I'm going to ask it, yes, generate an Excel file, and it's going to come back and give me that file. And then what I'm going to do after that, you'll see the file come back, but I am then going to go and show you what it summarized for both an individual and then on a joint basis on those six different scenarios I had shown there that I asked ChatGPT to analyze. So it comes back, goes out here, it's analyzing, comes back, and it takes a few minutes. But that's the great thing about ChatGPT here is that you can not only get it to analyze this stuff based on what you're asking it, you can ask it back and forth if you don't think it's correct. And it'll come back and give you an Excel file about that impact on that senior tax impact for 2025. So here, I do it, I download it, and there it comes back. Now, what I did here is I then turned around and said, okay, I'm going to the second slide here, and I said, okay, let's look at that then on what all that information that came back in that Excel file. So I summarized it here so it's easier to read. For the 2025 senior tax analysis on this bill, if you file as a single person, I have two scenarios here. One is you have modified adjusted gross income of 70,000, and in scenario 2, 100,000. So the base standard deduction in that bill increased to 15,750 for individuals. So we plug that in over there on the right hand side. And then there's a senior bonus added to the standard deduction of $2,000 for both scenarios. But then the senior Social Security deductible phases out in year 2028, but you have to do an add back to that based on if your income is over 75,000 up to a maximum 175,000. So basically, I calculated then what that add back is, and in scenario 1, it's not applicable, but in scenario 2, you're adding back out of that $6,000 deduction you get on Social Security $1,500. So what this thing is really helping you do is get some benefit out of all what you paid into Social Security, but remember, it expires in 2028. Now, one of the couple things I made some notes here, modified adjusted income, it represents all income you bring in minus some adjustments. And I laid out some of what the adjustments are below here in the notes, like IRA and self-employed retirement plan contributions, alimony payments, self-employed health insurance payments, 1/2 of self-employment taxes paid, health savings account deductions, penalties on early withdrawal of savings, etc. So, I would tell you to go consult with a tax professional to see how those all fit. I'm only assuming modified adjusted gross income here based on all the income you get from, you may be working still and getting W-2, all that. And then below in the tax table, I did, the tax table on all this and played it out. And so then basically what I come down to when you come down to the very income tax due before offset with any withholding, if you go up in scenario 1 and scenario 2, I show you owe basically $5,311 in scenario 1 and $13,450 in scenario 2 because you made $100,000. So that's on a single filer basis. So then I took, and all that's coming out of that Excel file I did. Then I took the second one, and the second one is based on filing joint. Now in this case, the joint has basically 4 scenarios. Scenario 1 is we make $145,000, but there's it starts to phase out as it did in the individual one from any income over $150,000, but with a max of $250,000. Now in phase 1, in scenario 1, it's only one person's over 65. In phase 2, you have 2 people over 65. Phase 3, we're going to collect income that's over the 150 with only one person over 65, and in scenario 4, 2 people over that with the one with that. So, it phases out. And again, the standard, whereas in the individual one, the base standard deduction went to $15,750. Here it goes to $31,500. There's a senior bonus added to that. It's $1,600 per person or $3,200 for both. And, we plug those in. And then we add back Social Security phase out if you go over the 150 up to a max of 250. So in scenario 3 and 4 at 171,000, we're over the 150, and so we have to factor in that phase out. Now that phase out was based on 6% that the Senate bill version put in. I've seen people calculate this in several different ways, but I'm just basically using a 6%. Taking, the 171,000 minus 150 times 6% and getting what that phase out is, and then adding all that up. Now I got all the total deductions, and then I know what my taxable income is after I, add up and deduct all that, and then basically on the tax tables below, calculate what are the different income taxes due before the offset with any of these. You would offset this with any tax withholding you have. So that's pretty simple of what, it does. The thing that I just want to point out is it was pretty accurate. When I first started doing it, the system really hadn't updated with the July 4th analysis, and I went back and asked it, well, why haven't you done that? And it corrected that, and so I've ran it a couple times, and now it's been in there every time. And it's just interesting that you're able to use ChatGPT to go make some of these analysis. So, you could ask it to kind of do this analysis, and before you go to a tax professional and consult, I would, under almost all situations, make sure that, a tax professional can, validate this or your planner. So anyway, just wanted to show that and say that, it's interesting to me that I can use ChatGPT to kind of do the analysis here and come back in Excel and put it in PowerPoint and do all that, and then, make the analysis. With that is the end of episode 11. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please ask. You can subscribe and welcome any comments, and please say that you liked. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next episode.